AI when it comes to robots at restaurants. I have a client that actually has a robot burger business, and I didn't even believe in it 4 years ago, but now I'm thinking this is going to be a common thing down the road. I'm going to go to a robot burger place. So yes, I believe AI is going to threaten a lot of people. The caveat here, the bonus though, for entrepreneurs. Welcome to another episode of $1 Million Stories, where we get to interview authors from all over the world. Today, I got a guy, his name is Matt Rouse, and he's got a book that I think I'm really going to like talking about, because I agree with this approach with AI. The title of the book is called "Will AI Take My Job? Predictions about AI in Corporations, Small Business, and small business and the workplace." So, Matt, thanks so much for being here. First off, I love the title of the book and I love the content. So, what made you write this book?
Mike, thanks for having me on the show. I wrote this book because we use AI in my agency. We run two marketing agencies, one in the US and one in Canada. And we slowly over time had started to realize that every time that we need something done, we go to software instead of hiring as our first choice.
I like it.
Right, mostly it's not because we started to realize that we're less reliant on human staff, right, in our industry. And it's not the same in every industry. So I wanted to look into all the other industries and say, where are the differences? Where is AI going to affect jobs? Is it going to affect jobs and productivity evenly across industries? And the answer is absolutely not. And what time frame is it going to take to affect jobs in those industries? So I cover a little over 20 different industries in the book.
Got it. Now, the question is, will AI take my job? And when I first read that, I said, yeah, probably, right? That's the way I looked at it. Simply because I'm able to duplicate myself. If I have enough digital assets out there, I could pretty much match my tonality and my voice. We have audiobooks that are being created through AI right now that do it at a much higher quality, but in a much shorter time frame. So AI, when it comes to robots at restaurants, I have a client that actually has a robot burger business, and I didn't even believe in it 4 years ago, but now I'm thinking this is going to be a common thing down the road. I'm going to go to a robot burger place. So yes, I believe AI is going to threaten a lot of people. The caveat here, the bonus though, for entrepreneurs, it's like a chainsaw. Just because there's a chainsaw doesn't mean that people's jobs will get cut out. It just means you need to play the game a different way. So is that your philosophy too?
Yeah, so I mean, the idea that as soon as somebody invents the chainsaw, there's no loggers anymore is completely not the way the world works,
Bingo.
right? But as soon as we invent the machine that can autonomously know where it is through the forest, determine whether it should or should not cut down a tree, cut down the tree, put it on the skid, take it out to the truck, and the truck autonomously drives itself back to the factory, which automatically processes the wood. That's a different story, right?
We're about 5 years from that.
Well, I would say we're more like 20 years from that.
Yeah.
But being 20 years from that, if you imagine just 20 years ago, which at my age is not that long ago, right? Because you always, the older you get, longer periods of time seem closer. But so 20 years ago for me was the early 2000s. I had moved to the United States. I was working for Intel and Nike, kind of back and forth as a contractor, and working in IT departments and marketing departments, and cell phones were kind of just starting to get around to everybody having one, and like Google Ads hadn't been invented yet, things like that, right? But you look 20 years out with a technology is almost impossible, because no one in their right minds, when companies were paying $1 million to be on the homepage of Yahoo.
Amazing.
And 20 years ago, people, in movies and stuff, they would be like, oh, imagine if you put all your money into Yahoo stock, like, would you do that now? Absolutely not, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
So go ahead.
All right. So I'm just saying that, yeah, technology is changing the world, but I think it's the Jim Rohn approach, which it's don't wish the world to be different, wish that you were better. And I just think that with all the tools and resources that are out there, you can't close your eyes and hope it goes away or hope it doesn't affect you. You
Well,
need to
you can.
become more. Well, you can, but you're just going to be hurting in a few months or years.
You better
So
be hoping for universal basic income if you do that.
right. So, which I'm totally against. I think that this is great because it could say to you, all right, well, maybe I have to learn new skills, but maybe this will free up my time. I can have automation working for me, not against me. And therefore, it's serving me and serving my audience, my clients. So I look at this as, yes, there are definitely downsides, right? Unless you develop a new pattern of living. So what do you, overall, do you believe AI is a healthy thing or a negative thing for society?
That's a really tough choice to make because it really kind of depends on how it gets used. There are many, many, many positive things that are going to come out of AI, and there's some very severe negative things that are going to come out of it as well.
Let's talk about the
And
negative stuff real quick. What are the top
well, it
two or
depends
three?
on how far out you want to go and how negative you want to talk, right? Like,
Yeah. Well,
for
I'm a big
example,
Terminator 2
right?
fan, all right? And
All
I
right, well,
think that's where it's going.
let me tell you the Terminator scenario, right? The one that everybody's afraid of is a bunch of crap. And everybody's been using this example since the 70s. It was actually invented. It was called the paperclip experiment. And the idea is you get an artificial intelligence and you say, I want you to make as many paper clips as possible because you run a paperclip company. And eventually it will find ways to use up all the resources on the entire planet and turn them into paper clips, killing every person, every animal, every tree, whatever, as long as it makes paper clips, because that's its goal. I believe if you create an artificial general intelligence, this is more than AI, this would be an AGI, that is a super intelligence, that it's smart enough not to convert humans into paper clips. So that's the argument that everybody has of, if we don't get it aligned with our values, it's gonna, kill everybody in for whatever reason. But there is a very small percentage of people in the world who have an immense amount of money and power, and that is not arguable, right? It's an
Right.
absolutely true thing. But they are, for the most part, they rely on the population to generate their income, right?
Mhm.
Even if it's a tiny, tiny fraction of income they make from each person. And even if let's say they make all of their money on stocks and capital gains, those capital gains come from stocks. Those stocks are in companies, and if that company is, for example, if it's Intel, then Intel has to be selling processors to people to make money, which makes them their money. But if nobody has a job anymore, there's nobody to buy the processors, then there's no income coming up the chain. So that's one problem. But the other problem that's kind of the same idea is, if I don't need people to do labor anymore, then what do I need the people for?
Yeah, there you
So
go.
why would I bother taking care of people? Or why if you look at a totalitarian government who already treats its people really badly, if they don't need those people to be laborers anymore, there's no point in having the people because it's just harder to control them. Right.
Mhm.
And so that's a terrifying scenario, right? Where if you have an autonomous workforce and an autonomous military, that's controlled by AI systems and hypothetically by that government, they don't need people to fight in the wars, right? They don't need people to go out and make crops because the AI does it.
Well, I think the scariest scenario is the mark of the beast. Um, I think that the moment that computer and human get intertwined, which I think they're playing with right now pretty frequently, whether it's going to be how you pay for everything, where it's digitally inserted into your hand or into your neck or whatnot, that outlines everything in your bloodstream, how your body's responding, all that is the moment where humans and computers are basically becoming like robots, where they are being monitored and tracked by something or someone constantly. Now that's happening through your phone,
Yeah.
but the moment it's in your body, now it becomes, there's no way to detach. And that could mean, all right, you don't play by our rules. This is going to be a signal given to you, and you become sick, or you do what I tell you, or you're going to feel a certain way, or you're going somewhere where I don't want you to go. You can't go there now. We're going to stop that. So I look at that as the scariest outcome, which is pretty soon, in my opinion, 15, 20 years out. Do you
I
agree
mean,
with that?
if you're looking at something like Neuralink, right, where
Right.
it's feeding back into the system and you can take commands in both directions, that's one thing. Getting people to accept the fact that they want to put it in their body is another thing. I mean, it's definitely not going to happen anytime soon. Some
You
people
think
will,
so? You
right?
just saw COVID, man. People were putting shots in their body within a week of it being developed. You don't think that people
Yeah,
are
but
willing to
that's
do
not
this?
like wires coming out of your brain kind of thing, you know? Like it's going to take there's a big leap there, right? And the leap is too far. But now that doesn't mean that there is not a way for AI systems to be used in a invasive manner. Like I'll give you an example. This is a functional example, something that works today. So what they did is they put a camera in a room, and then it's like an office. They put a camera in the office, and then they gave it access to the Wi-Fi router to see the signal pattern of the Wi-Fi going out and back. And basically it recorded, and the AI recorded all of the patterns of the people moving and what was on the Wi-Fi router as well as the camera. And then they took the camera away. And when people were walking around in the room, it was able to tell by the strength of the response in the Wi-Fi router of where the people were in the room in 3D. And
That's Batman. That's Dark Knight stuff right there.
this is not a specialized router. This is an off-the-shelf, just regular old Wi-Fi router that you could buy at the store. So that's something that can already be done now. There was like the facial recognition technology. It can already tell if you're wearing a hat or sunglasses or anything like that, who you are
Oh yeah, I've
still.
seen that.
A lot of them, some of the systems can actually tell people by the way that they walk and their mannerisms and stuff without seeing their face. So they can kind of estimate, they can say, this is approximately these people that we have the pattern of. And then with other data fed into the system, it can say, okay, that's that person. It's like the idea of the serial killer that they caught with the DNA, but they didn't have his DNA in the system to match it against. So they matched it against the DNA of his relatives that had volunteered their DNA into the system. And by basically they were able to take it, find out who's a match of relatives of, I think it came out to like 64,000 DNA patterns. And then by narrowing it down at who could possibly be in the places that he was in the right age groups and everything, they were able to determine who he was. So there's ways to figure this kind of stuff out. And AI is definitely going to help with that. Be used as countermeasures.
Well, okay, so let's talk about the benefits. There's a
Right.
lot of negative there to unpack.
There
In my
is.
opinion, the benefits of AI are going to resemble Superman 2. Are you familiar with the movie at all?
Well, it's been a while, but I definitely have seen it.
Well, Clark Kent, Superman, goes
Mhm.
back to his palace of isolation,
Right.
his crystal palace, and he puts the crystal in, and he
Mhm.
speaks to his dad. Now, his
Right.
dad is just a computer program, right?
Right.
Basically, it's just an automated message. And Lex Luthor goes back and does the same thing.
Mhm.
All it is the perfect visual, audio, recording, everything of someone who lived maybe, let's just say, hundreds or thousands of years ago. Now imagine having enough digital assets put out there on podcasts, videos, books, information that you create, any type of content that someone could pull up and say, you know what, great granddad Matt Rouse, what was he like? Oh, let me click a button. And then you talk to that child as if you're there. I think we're going to see that before our time is over. So that is an
Yeah, I think that's
amazing
coming.
benefit.
Um, essentially it's like a human emulator, right? Where it's not really you, but it sounds like you and it looks like you and it talks like you.
Yeah.
And that would be difficult for somebody who doesn't have access to the original to tell the difference, right? I think kind of a more something we're going to see sooner that's already in development is something like this, right? Where you have this box and I'm here and I'm having a conversation with you, but it's not me, right? It's
Yes.
the AI with my voice. The video's been programmed with my mannerisms and how I move my head and what I look like. And it has conversations on my behalf, right?
Yes. That's happening with websites right now.
Right. It's starting to happen. And I mean, the technology is not quite there. You can definitely tell if you're looking for it. And especially with the voice stuff, it doesn't have the random inflection and stuff in it, but it's getting better.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at where the technology has gone, right? Look at 11 Labs last year.
I like
You
11
could
Labs.
be like,
I look at it 1 year ago, though. You're
yeah,
right.
1 year ago, you're like, this is 100%. This is a computerized voice. You could tell they used to use them on like YouTube ads and crap all the time, right? And now you hear an 11 Labs voice, and it's really close,
I
right?
duplicated my voice on 11 Labs. It's almost impossible. My dad could not tell who was who.
Now try it with Play HT, which is another one that also has an API you can use just like 11 Labs, but it seems to do better with voices with accents outside of like 11 Labs is pretty specific on some of the accents it does. Like it does UK and Australian and a couple of US accents, and it's pretty poor at Canadian. But Play HT does a really good job with consistently producing accents. And now look, you're talking about you trained your voice, right?
Yeah.
So that it would be able to speak in your voice, that system.
I uploaded a 90-second clip of me speaking in every type of
Right.
tonality.
Last year you had to put in a 90-minute clip, right?
Yeah.
Play HT can now do it in 30 seconds.
Yes.
So in 30 seconds, you can voice clone your voice. That's insanity, right?
That's already right
And
now. Yes.
so here's the thing about any kind of technology, right, that has even just a logarithmic scale, right? It gets better so much faster that it is incomprehensible by the average person, right? You cannot understand how that increase is because your brain is just not programmed for it, right? It would be like if you see like a lion on the horizon and it's running towards you, and you could be like, it's going to take that lion like 2 hours to get here. But 1 hour, it makes it halfway, and the second hour, it's next to you. And that's kind of a normal rate of speed, right? But if it was logarithmic, then by the time it got a quarter way here, then the next step, it would be standing next to you as if it disappeared and appeared next to you, right?
Yeah.
So it's just so much.
You just went mute for a second there, sir. Oh, you just went
Oh,
mute there.
sorry. I got my book in my hand and it hit the space bar.
That's right.
All right. So sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. Okay. So if you think about how difficult would it be to beat a computer at chess?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
basically impossible.
Right.
Right. At this point, the computer is the best at playing chess in the world. It can beat every grandmaster at chess in the world simultaneously with one system. As the AI can beat the Turing test, the next step is it understands that it has to dumb itself down to fool you that it's not a computer because it's so smart, right? So each step is unimaginably bigger once it gets to a human level, right? So as an AI is not a well-rounded person, though. So if you look at something like GPT-4, it's at least 10 times more productive than 3.5.
Yes.
So if you're not using the paid version of GPT, you are using basically like AI light.
But it's still good. It's still good. Yeah.
But it's nothing compared to 4. Right?
Right.
And then if you add something like custom instructions, where you can tell it, okay, this is the way that I want this model to perform for me. This is how I want it to function. Then the output that you get is even better. So even though, myself and somebody else are both using GPT-4, when I've programmed mine with custom instructions, the output I'm going to get is better than the output someone else is going to get. So a custom instruction is something like, I want you to always work step by step, so that it will it'll make a plan before it executes the plan, which makes it more impactful. It's better at writing. It's better at figuring things out. And you can put that in your prompts, but if you put it in your custom instructions, it will always do it. And actually I have all my custom instructions are on LinkedIn. So if you go on LinkedIn, look through my posts.
Yeah.
You can get all I use basically all 1,500 characters of custom instructions.
Are you building now that you're becoming very well versed in this world, are you starting to notice that you're building your business around AI?
100%.
Yes. Right. So you're
We're
not
trying to
using
build
it,
our
you're building
business
around it.
We're trying to build our business around where we think the next generation of AI is going to go. So the only person that we have on staff right now is a proofreader.
Amazing.
Like essentially a book editor. She is one of my book editors. And that's because we need to check the output.
So what I'm noticing, and maybe you're seeing the same thing, but I'm in many groups that are entrepreneur based, right? And years ago, these groups probably were saying, I can't wait to build a company that has 1,000 employees. Right. Well, now that's different. I want to build a small team that makes a major impact. And I'm going to use virtual assistants. I'm going to use AI, and I'm going to use the programs that are at our disposal to build a small company that does major numbers. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm doing. Is that what you're noticing out there too?
Yeah, well, I mean, Sam Altman himself in an interview said that he thinks that 24 months from now, the power of an AI at that point will have the same productive output as a small corporation.
Holy smokes.
So if you have one AI that can do the work of, 100 person or 100 employee company, how many employees do you really need? Right?
Wow.
Now imagine for a moment, and this is not science fiction, right? An AI agent. There's several of these out right now. Like Microsoft just came out with one a few weeks ago where it's called AutoGen, and it's an agent team, and each one is a GPT that has been given a specific persona, and they talk back and forth to produce the output. So one can be the product manager, one can be the product designer, one's the graphic designer, one is like, say you're going to make t-shirts, right? So, okay, so one's the shipping manager, one is the CEO, and then you say to the CEO, I want you to produce $1 million book podcast t-shirt. These are who it's for. These are the sizes that we want. Get it done kind of thing. And it will go to the product designer, and they'll throw the ideas back and forth, and it'll all figure all that stuff out and try and produce that result for you. It's not great yet.
Well, yeah.
But
still,
just like anything, right? It's not great yet, but Midjourney wasn't that great last year. And now it's essentially photorealistic.
Is that the best one? As a great tidbit for maybe the listeners out there, what is the best text or prompt to picture AI that's out there? Is it Midjourney?
In my opinion, Midjourney is the best.
Okay. Yeah, I'm playing with a few right now.
Yeah, I do like, okay, so if you need something that's not safe for work kind of thing, then you could use something else. You could run your own model. You can also use some like stability, if you need certain types of images. Dolly works really good for
I'm using Dolly. Yep, I'm using Dolly right now.
Dolly 3, right?
I think so. Yeah, the paid, whatever that is. That
yeah, so if you have GPT-4, like the paid version, GPT-4 Plus, then you use Dolly 3.
Yeah.
But you can tell it to make the prompt to create the image, whereas Midjourney, you have to create it yourself. But if you want to hack for that, go to the page that tells you all the instructions of how to use Midjourney and just copy the URL and put it into GPT-4 and say, based on this documentation, write me a prompt that will produce blah, 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 blah. And it'll write your
Wow.
Midjourney prompt, and then you put it into Midjourney.
Guys, anybody listening to this, that is a major nugget. I didn't know anything about that. So that's huge.
So the GPT-4 context window is 100,000 tokens now. That's like 80,000 words. So you can put entire documents, entire books in some cases into it and ask questions about it. And basically, I call it talking to your documents. So I'll take all the reports out of Shopify for a store and I'll upload it into GPT-4. And then I'll say, I'm trying to figure out why sales have decreased, even though abandoned carts have not decreased. And it's going to say, okay, well, here's the statistics that we think have something to do with that. It looks like you have fewer people have initiated checkout. And then I can go look at the checkout page and say, oh, you know what? We added a coupon code box to this page. So people are going and searching for coupons and they're not checking out. So I take that off the page and then the sales go back up. And I say, thanks, GPT. So you can put data in and analyze it and get useful information back.
Yes.
The other thing is, I mean, there's so many things like, okay, so I didn't use AI to write my book, but I don't know if you can see it very well on here, but I used AI for the cover art.
Yep. Yep.
And then I used Canva to do the rest of the cover art.
Amazing.
And then there's 3 key takeaways at the end of each chapter. And what I did is,
was that summarized from ChatGPT-4?
Yeah, we wrote the chapter and then we put it into GPT-4 and we said, make 3 key takeaways from this. And then we just edit it to make sure it's correct.
Yeah, because I've noticed, and we have a ghostwriting company. If you rely upon it too much, it's going to be very redundant. There's many issues with it. The tonality's off. So it's good, but not great. Maybe that will change in the future. But I think that you still need that proofreader. You need that human feel to it to boost some things that AI doesn't know about you.
That's right. I think my picture just fell off the wall.
Yeah, it did. It stayed on there. That's good.
It's hanging on by a thread.
One thing that I want to talk about with you is, and this is probably the other scary aspect in the very near future, individuals going to school are not going to read a book. They're not going to do anything other than go to ChatGPT and say, who was this person? What does this person stand for? What is this book about? I believe that's the scariest part, because whoever's programming the AI will control the masses, right? They're going to control how they think, what information they see. So
sort of, right? I mean, it's really hard to do that right now because the technology to steer the AI the way that you want is not really there yet.
Well,
now you can guardrail it. You can guardrail it, and guardrailing it, it's not the same thing.
Well,
putting on guardrails says if you try to tell it, how do I make this illicit substance, that it will tell you, I'm not allowed to make this thing, or I can't show you how to make this thing. But there is also, Microsoft had a paper come out a few weeks ago about how you could untrain something from a model, but that has just barely been invented. So when the model that they used is, they essentially took all things Harry Potter out of, a GPT, and it is still in there. And if you dug really hard, you could find it. But what they've done is they've said that none of this information has any value, so you won't want to share it with anybody, basically, is the simple version of how they did it. But you could have, if the output is of this type, rewrite it to be, more left-leaning or more right-leaning or whatever it is that you're trying to do. I mean, it's possible, but it's just the technology is not quite there yet. And there's nothing stopping you, like, short of some money. There's nothing protected open source model.
Right. Yes, there is that for sure. I've seen, this is not so much centralized as you think, but for the most part, let's kind of paint the picture. I'm thinking of a student in school typing in who was Joe Biden or who was Donald Trump. These are extreme measures.
Sure.
One will be painted very positively and one will be painted very negatively based off of a couple different factors. And I think it's whoever pulls the strings. Let's just say Microsoft has its own AI that somebody goes to for every question, it's going to be skewed, right? So I think that it's just the same aspect with books in school. I believe that the school system keeps people at a certain level mentally when it comes to the financial sector. They want to keep people controlled. And that's why they don't tell them to start businesses. That's why they don't tell them to read Rich Dad Poor Dad or Think and Grow Rich or Outwitting the Devil. And that is just taken from this aspect of books and then making it digital form on your phone. So that is really scary because it's all about convenience, and humans are like water. They're going to go
But
where
I
it's
mean,
most
that's
convenient.
already done now, right? Like, essentially, Google is the internet at this point, right?
Correct.
And they can take something out of the index at any time and it doesn't exist anymore, for most people. And like it didn't used to be called the dark web. That just came out when Google took over the internet. Before that, it was just called the internet, right? And you would
Yeah.
like, there was some sites that are like, oh, you don't want to go there because it's got you could go buy, drugs off that site. So don't go to that one. You used to have IP blocking software, or your service provider. Like I used to work for Shaw Communications back in the day, and we're an internet service provider. And if we got abuse complaints for malware, we would block the IP addresses of those websites to all the users, right? And there's nothing saying that your provider can't do that now. There's open internet law, but is anybody checking their router to see where it's going? Like, is anybody checking the block list? No, they're not, right? So there's nothing stopping it right now. And not only that, like, if you look at a Google search right now, if you search for, say, a specific type of product and you haven't made a buying decision yet, part of the process is natural language processing. It converts it into, what is the intent of what the person is doing. And it doesn't give you the absolute best result. It gives you the best result combined with what will make Google the most money. And that's the result set you get.
Wow.
Right. So
You're
you
right.
get ads,
Yes.
and you get, this stuff. And then they're obscuring what was typed in to make the ads come up to the advertiser. So on my end, I can go in and they'll say, here's 80% of the things people typed in that you paid an ad to show on, but we're not going to show you the other 20%. Well, why? Right? Well, because if I know what people type in that then brings up an ad, which then makes them go purchase, I buy less ads. So if I'm going to buy more ads, you have to obscure the result. And then other things go on. Like we have some companies that work in the legal industry, like fugitive recovery and bail and things like that. And one day Google said, we're not going to do bail ads anymore. Well, that was 20% of our business, like, gone, because we manage the ads for these companies. And they just decided they weren't going to do it anymore, right? So, I mean, if you think the internet's free and open now, well, unless you're using, DuckDuckGo or ULA or something for your search and for your browser, like if you're using Chrome, forget it, right? Every website you go to that has a Google font or a CAPTCHA, all that's tracking, right? Every site pretty much is running Google Analytics and Search Console, so they have all the tracking data. And then even if you're not using Google Search or Microsoft Search or their AI or anything, there's still 100 other ways you're getting tracked, right?
Very true.
Facebook still has a profile on you, even if you're not on Facebook. And they build that out of, it's like the idea of where they caught the serial killer with the DNA of the relatives, right? You don't have to be on Facebook for Facebook to be tracking you.
Yeah. Very good point.
So
You're
anyway,
saying
now
right
that we
now that
live in a dystopian world,
and it's bad now, but imagine 30 years from now is what we're getting at. Is it's gonna get like we're free now. It's only gonna become more and more restrictive, very
yeah.
much
And I
controlled.
mean, I put free in quotes a bit, but I the pendulum generally swings both directions, right? So if the world becomes more controlled because of AI, it's likely that AI will also open up opportunities for
Bingo.
people to escape that control. Right.
Bingo. I agree. That's
And
what I'm saying too. So yes,
yeah,
there are pros and cons to everything, and I think that there's a lot of positivity. So don't turn a blind eye to it, right? Use it to become more free, become more awake, become more, I guess you just say, wealthy in general. I think this is the land of opportunity for a reason. We can really take this new idea built by many people and just utilize it to the fullest. So this is great for
yeah.
entrepreneurs, but how about the people out there who they're listening? Who's going to be most affected by this?
Well, most affected is kind of hard to determine. If you mean earliest to be affected,
Let's say earliest. Who's the
then
right around the corner? What would you say?
if if your job fits into these three things, one of them is it's text based, it's digital, and everything that you do has been documented, then your job essentially can already be done by an AI. So a good example is uh, customer service text chat based support,
Bingo.
right?
Yes.
So there's a company, I'm not going to name them, but over 6 months ago now, they took a chat bot with an AI with 3.5 that they created, and they put it into 10% of their customer support requests going to that bot. They found that their wait time for people to get help went from 5 minutes to 5 seconds, and their customer satisfaction went up 40%.
Oh my God.
So guess what they do now? Well, they've
100%.
rolled it out to 50%, and still same thing, right? People like using the customer support bot better than the real people. So now they got rid of 90% of their workforce, and the remaining 10% are the ones who can solve the difficult problems that the other customer support reps can't solve. They're the ones who the customers like the best, the ones who have the most knowledge of the company, the ones who are best at towing the company line, or whatever those factors are that the company is looking for in KPIs, right? Their key performance indicators.
Yep.
They keep those 10% to answer the things that are the outsider, the outliers that the AI doesn't know how to fix. And everybody else is talking to an AI and they don't know it.
Yep. And I think
That's
that,
already happened,
yeah,
right? That's not like, well, 3 years from now. No, this is like, it's already in place, right?
yeah.
And there is 100 companies out there already making AI based support software.
So
So if
text,
you do technical
digital, standard
support, go find
operating
another job.
procedures. Yes.
Yeah, like, okay, so imagine your company has been recording every single phone call when you call in to whatever it is, right? Let's say it's the bank. Every time you call into the bank, they're recording your call for, training purposes. What do you think they're going to do with all those recordings?
Of course,
Right?
they're going to run through AI. Quality assurance, they called it before.
They will transcribe all of those, put them into a LangChain data set or some kind of data set that the AI can use. And now the AI knows how to solve every problem that anyone's ever called in about. And then they pass that through to 11 Labs or PlayHT or one of these voice generators. And now you're talking to an AI over the phone and you have no idea. You just know, man, this person knows how to fix my problem right away. So,
Well, I
but they're
have a
not going to keep
solution.
everybody,
Well,
right?
I have a solution, right? I believe that the answer to every one of these problems is to learn the tool or learn how you can benefit from it, which means never rely upon one income stream and also become more entrepreneurial. That is my solution to pretty much everything. If you are less reliant on corporation or government, you are more free and you are therefore happier as a result, that you are in control of your destiny. So that's
Yeah.
my solution. Is that the same solution you teach people? Hey, this is great. Use it, but become more entrepreneurial. Buy into assets, have assets pay you, create businesses, create revenue streams. Is that the answer?
It's the answer for some people. Now, not everyone is an entrepreneur. I know lots of people who have no interest in starting a business whatsoever, right?
I do too. Yeah.
And they just don't, right? That's fine. But if that's the case, then you have basically three options. you try to be the absolute best in the eyes of what would make you keep your job. So what the company sees as being indispensable about you, that's what you need to be the best at. Because then when the AI comes for your job and they're going to use a chat bot, or they're going to bring in an HR bot or a finance bot or whatever it is, or a software analyst bot that's going to do your job, they're not going to get rid of everyone, because somebody's got to be there to fix the problems that it doesn't understand or the new things that it's never seen before. So you want to be that person. Okay, so number 2 is you try and find a similar, something that you can use your skills towards that also has difficult to replicate tasks. So a good example would be, if I'm a bank teller, I would be worried about my job in the future. So I would switch to an industry where people are not going to be comfortable talking to computers about for a really long time. So maybe that's finance, lending, mortgage, something like that, right? Option number 3 is you just close your eyes and your ears and you say la 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 la, and you hope you have a job down the road. But I wouldn't recommend that strategy.
You need to learn how to add value to your marketplace or to those around you. And I think the phrase that really, sparked in my brain while you were talking is that the stronger AI becomes, mediocrity in the marketplace will not be tolerated. Mediocrity on the phone, on the computer, in your workplace will not be tolerated. You're the first one gone. You're on the chopping block. So this is a good thing.
Yeah,
and
it's going to really
thing.
shift the balance of power between employees and companies. And I think it's going to go both ways, just like everything, like the pendulum swinging both ways, right? So the average employee is going to have less power in the future, but the top employee is going to have way more power in the future, because they need somebody who is the top of the top, the best of the best, to handle all the things that the AI can't handle. But if you only handle medium level or low level tasks, then an AI is going to be trained to do those things in the future.
Who is the greatest competitor for OpenAI right now? Who competes with ChatGPT 4?
I think Anthropic has definitely got the best opportunity, because the CEO of Anthropic basically helped build GPT-2 and 3. And also they have arguably the second largest AI data center once they get all their, I think it's 24,000 A100s. It's an insane number. And, it's hundreds of millions of dollars of hardware. And once they have that, they'll be able to train a bigger model than anyone else except for OpenAI. So you got OpenAI, then you've got, Anthropic, and then probably, something overseas will be next. Japan is working on a huge model. Same with Saudi Arabia, has an open source model that's out that's really good. Or actually it's United Arab Emirates, I believe, who makes that model. So there is some stuff overseas. They're not nearly as competitive as those top 2. But then also, I wouldn't put Llama out of the fight. That's Facebook's AI, which is also open source right now.
Wow.
But who knows
I don't
about
know
the
much
future.
about that one.
Llama, the top Llama is about as good as GPT-3. But it's open source. And also, if you understand Python and you're a developer, you could easily take the guardrails off it and use it kind of as is without any security on it. So you can get, relatively good answers. And the reason I wouldn't recommend you do that, but the reason is that when they put restrictions on the AI model, it makes the model less functional overall. So the GPT-4 that OpenAI uses at their office and the OpenAI GPT-4 that we use are not the same thing. Their model is better than our model because the one we're using has more restrictions on it. And when it has restrictions on it, it affects things unrelated to the problem they're trying to protect from. So, their model could be doing all kinds of things that we don't know about. Like they're coming out with every month and a half, they're coming out with all these, suddenly they're like, oh, well, now it can take pictures and now it can identify, broken brake pads and, but last week it couldn't, yeah, no, it didn't just suddenly be able to do that. Right. They're just allowing us to use that part of it because they've tested it for security and guardrailed it and whatever. But the one they're using is definitely more powerful.
Would you want to be born in right now and wake up completely as a young kid in an AI driven world? I'm born in 1984, and I say to myself almost on a daily basis, I am so glad that I woke up or I grew up without an iPad or a phone in my hand. And now that we have AI, which is going to completely shake up the world, I do not wish upon anybody to wake up as a kid at 6 years old and say, instead of riding a bicycle or go play around a dirt bike, that you go and pick up a phone. It's just,
my
I don't think
daughter's
it's a good
7.
time.
Okay. And I mean, there's a little bit of tension in that world, but we also, intentionally moved out into the country. And so, like, you could tell by my chicken shirt.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You out in the farmland?
Yeah, so we have like a hobby farm. We have 60 chickens now, I think. And a cat and a dog, and we got some gardens, and my wife's a flower farmer now.
Oh, nice.
And so you can definitely find some balance, right? I mean, you don't have to go open a hobby farm somewhere, like go off grid or something. But, my daughter is really into Minecraft right now. She builds stuff. She works on Roblox games with me together. So we build Roblox games. She understands some basics of programming, but also she talks to the AI almost every night before she goes to bed. She'll talk to Pi. We got Pi installed on my phone, which is a free AI, by the way. You should install that on your phone and mess with it if you can.
I don't know what that is. And it's just, how do you spell it? Is it just Pi?
Just PI.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So you install Pi, and she's learning how to talk to it to get the responses that she's trying to get. But then she's also always trying to teach it how to have emotions, which is super cute. But yeah, so I think, and you're talking about 1984. I was born in 1972. I got my first computer when I was 8. And you could type in
Commodore?
It was actually an Atari. And you could type in line by line. You would type 10 for line 10 and do this thing. And then you would use basic programming, and then it would do stuff. And I was like, this is like a miracle. Like, I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. Right. And nobody else had either. My parents are just dumbfounded. I'm like, well, I made this game, and you press N and it goes to a place and describes it. And then there's a monster there, and you press F to fight it, and I'm building this stuff. And and I had that same feeling when I first used GPT, like Chat GPT. I first used it, and it did something, and I was like, holy shit. Like, yeah. I have never seen anything like this in my life. And I work in computers, right? So, and I've worked my whole life in technology, and I'm like, this is something different. Like, this is not anything like anything that's ever been made before. And now I use it every single day. I use it every day, almost all day. And not just that AI, I use generative AI all the time. I use AI systems for all kinds of stuff. Like, let's talk about your show for a second. Okay. So I have my 16:9 video that I make, right, for my own, show, my own podcast. And it's Digital Marketing Masters, by the way.
I was going to ask you, my last question was tell me about your business, but
sure. Well, I mean, so anyways, we record something, whether it's for us or for a client. We record it in this kind of YouTube format. We edit it down to the video. Now I've got my video piece. Okay. I used to have virtual assistants who would go through and cut 2 or 3 clips out of that show. and then transcribe that to make a few posts, take a couple screenshots to put in, the Facebook and the LinkedIn and the Instagram and whatever, right? And you want to make a couple vertical videos like Reels or TikToks or something. Okay, yeah, we're going to do that too, but this is going to take forever. It's going to cost me a fortune.
Video.ai.
Right. Well, now I take this video, I put it into Runway ML, and Runway will transcribe it with the time codes for YouTube. So it gives me a perfect transcription file, almost perfect. I run that through GPT-4 to check for errors. Usually it's people's spelling and people's names and stuff like that. I use GPT-4 to translate it into several languages. I upload all of those into YouTube. So now my show's on YouTube and it's transcribed into several languages. So it can be on Spanish YouTube and French YouTube and, whatever, right? And then I upload my video. I just take the URL. I put that into an app called Get Munch. Get Munch will then automatically, in about an hour, give me back anywhere from 12 to 20 vertical video clips. And it's transcribed and it's captioned and it word for word, like karaoke style, puts the highlight on the word as it's spoken, automatically puts emphasis on certain words that it thinks are more important. And it gives me the hashtags and the description and the title, and it generates a tweet for me for every single one of those video clips. It does all that in an hour. And so I put that all out. I take my transcript, I stick it into GPT-4. I say, give me the 3 main points of this. It gives me those. I say, write a blog post about number 1, write a blog post about number 2, write a blog post about number 3. And I give those to my editor. And then I say, I want a social media post for Facebook about number 1. I want a LinkedIn post about number 1. And it gives me those. And from that one video, right, I get over 50 pieces of content and it takes 2 hours. That used to take us 2 weeks.
Who's posting? Is it a manual posting then? Or are you using like a heropost.io?
No, so we use Zoho. So we use Zoho Social for our own stuff. But for clients,
okay,
we tend to post natively. It depends what it is. Some things, I don't know, like sometimes the features will change on the apps. And if you're using, something to post for you, you don't get to use all those features. So it really depends what it is. So like YouTube, I'm never using a scheduler on YouTube. I'm in YouTube Studio, uploading it, and then filling in the stuff I need to fill in. Just because I don't trust the schedulers. I've seen too many things screw up. Same with Facebook. Usually Facebook, Instagram will use Facebook's, posting system in Business Manager.
So you brought up Get Munch. Now that's a great tidbit for the listeners, but I recommend, and this is something I've seen work. I don't think it does as much as yours, but a simple $20 fee creates all of these files, and it's done through video.ai. Are you familiar with this at all? Okay. So you are familiar. Just way
there's also reshare.io is another one.
Reshare?
And there's one other one too. I can't remember the name of it now. But I just switched to an AI podcast tool as well. So we were using Descript for a while, which is also an AI tool, but we've actually switched our podcast editor. Now we use resound.fm.
Heard of that.
It's very similar to Audacity, but it automatically picks the parts that you need to edit. So you only have to look at the parts you need to edit.
Wow. And are you doing most of your podcast through Riverside, or because it sounds like
we use StreamYard.
Oh, StreamYard. Okay.
We were using Squadcast and Descript, but I find that Descript's audio processing kind of makes your voice sound weird. Sometimes there's some like inflection problems with it, and maybe it's just my voice that it screws up, but hard to say.
Man,
I do like the editor in Descript though, like the text editor.
Fascinating. Most of my team's going to listen to this. We're going to definitely take some of these tidbits. So last question I have for you, your business. Tell us a little bit about your company, man. You're very knowledgeable when it comes to AI. So I'm assuming you're helping out a lot of clients with it.
Yeah, we work for, I would say our market niche is difficult to market business. So I run Hook Digital Marketing in the United States as well as Hook Digital Marketing Canada. And we help businesses who are having some kind of a marketing issue. maybe they've hit some kind of plateau and they can't push through it. Spending more money on ads is not making them any more money. Maybe they lost all their search engine traffic, those kind of marketing problems. You just hit me up on LinkedIn. I also write books this is my first kind of, I guess I would call consumer book, is Will AI Take My Job, which is on Amazon, of course. And I also write small business books. I wrote How We've Always Done It, which is about how to fix problems in your business due to kind of process and apathy and other problems that people have when they've been running a business for a while. And I also wrote a book called Peertainment, which is about the peer-driven entertainment world and how you need to partner with AI, which is what gave me the idea for the AI book in the first place, and how to partner with the platforms so that you can actually make money while you are promoting your business at the same time, rather than paying money to promote your business.
Beautiful. That's excellent, man. So the company's website, I think you gave it to me, but just want to get it one last time at the end here. What's the website to get in touch with you and your company?
hookdm.com or hookdm.ca in Canada.
I'm part of a mastermind called the DM family, and
Nice.
and it's for deal maker. What's DM stand
Ours
for?
digital marketing.
Digital marketing. That's great, man. I have to say, dude, this has been interesting. Matt, you're obviously a wealth of knowledge when it comes to AI and technology. So it was an honor to talk to you. Thanks so much for being here. Guys, get in touch with him. He obviously knows his stuff, and it's a passion. You can see it in his eyes. You can hear it in his voice. And pick up his book, Will AI, I mean, let me get the exact title. Will AI Take My Job? Predictions about AI in corporations, small business, and the workplace. So Matt Rouse, it's been an honor. Thanks so much, guys. And remember, $1 million book will lead to $1 million life. Right on.